Donald Trump returns to Twitter. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. Yes, Donald J. Trump returned to Twitter over the weekend. Or at least the new head of Twitter reinstated his account. Sort of. The context of the reinstatement is remarkable in itself, a way to trick bots into revealing themselves. More remarkable still are the contents of the account and the reaction to the reinstatement. Before I dive into the saga of the reinstatement and the absolute treasure trove that is this account, I do want to shout out to the prime sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views. Link in the description. Be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of great merchandise there. Now, I could have chosen a Donald Trump Ultra MAGA t-shirt, but instead I chose this t-shirt that says, "Do not bear false witness," because I've heard one other columnist talk about the real triumph of this weekend, the refutation of claims that an outgoing president engaged in insurrection or rebellion. And one more thing. If you like what you're about to hear, you can like this video. You can also click the bell icon to get a notice every time I come out with a new one. In fact, you see the new icon? Heart-shaped with the US dollar sign in it? That's the super thanks icon. If you really want to keep these videos coming, click on that and leave me a tip. Any currency will do. Now then, how did the real Donald Trump account become visible, linkable, and embeddable once again? Elon Musk, the new owner of Twitter, commissioned a poll of users asking whether they wanted the Trump account back. I have a link in the description to that poll showing its final results, and I'll get to those. Elon set a 24-hour time limit on the poll. A landslide of early voters voted yes. Then votes started coming in too fast for humans to cast them, as many as 1 million votes per hour. In Elon's next tweet, he says just that. Then, a user named Kyle Becker sardonically compared the moving poll results to the election of 2020. I have a link in the description to the second of 2 tweets he left, the second quoting the first so that they both display. First, he took a screen cap of the poll showing a Friday evening vote of 64% yes to 36% no, with 42,974 votes cast thus far. Then he literally said the Democrats might have to stop the count so that they can haul in some mail-in votes. An obvious reference to a persistent allegation that the Democrats manufactured mail-in votes once they knew how many real votes were reported. Now, you can believe that or not, as you wish. In fact, at least 2 of my featured influencers have talked about how Republicans can do mail-in voting and do it in a way that avoids even the appearance of anything untoward. Anyway, next Becker says, and I quote, "Hold up, Maricopa just dropped another batch." For your information, the Election Integrity Unit of the Arizona Attorney General's Office is, in fact, investigating allegations that the Maricopa County Board of Elections acted either with incompetence of a phenomenal order or nefarious intent. They want answers and they've demanded them. And that's as much digression as I'm going to give you on that subject. Later, Musk called his poll display fascinating. I have a link in the description to Musk saying that, and a link to another tweet in which he said that the most entertaining result would be the most likely, his own switch on Occam's razor. But ultimately, the total vote was 51.8% to 48.2% in favor, with 15,085,458 votes cast. Now, how many of these were live human beings and how many were bots? Musk won't say, Maybe he doesn't know yet. I suspect he is still crunching some numbers. In any event, he gave the order to reinstate the account. Vox populi, vox Dei, he said. And I have a link in the description to that statement also. Newsletter writer Noah shared his theory that Musk posted the Trump reinstatement poll to trap bots on Twitter. He writes, quote, "Honey trap confirmed. Elon Musk baited them with something they couldn't ignore, and they fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker. And now he's caught them in the act, and he has all the data he needs, not only to expose them, but to block it and stop it from happening in the future. Cleaning out America's town square, meaning Twitter, has been a very important part of the plan all along, and Elon is right on schedule in getting it done. Bravo." Close quote. Well, two users named Kim.com and Crystal Hope cheered the Trump reinstatement. Mr.com asked whether Elon could restore the account with all of Trump's original followers still intact and still linked to him. Now, I don't know whether he can or not, but I'll tell you this. Last time I looked, the account had over 86 million followers. Crystal Hope tweeted an image of Trump with this caption, "Thanks, Elon, free speech wins." But others predictably expressed dismay. Robert M. Reich has a typical reaction. I've left a link to that reaction in the description. He said, quote, "Memo to Elon, freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom to incite an insurrection," unquote, Robert Reich, with apologies to Rush Limbaugh. Well, Mr. Former Secretary of Labor, nobody said it did. But no court of law has found that an insurrection took place either. Now, if you think any court has, leave a comment and cite the case. Then we have a Shannon Coulter who said that she sent emails to the heads of safety at Apple and Google asking whether they would keep the Twitter app on their respective app stores following the Trump reinstatement. Now, I have no idea whether to believe that or not. I've left a link in the description, nevertheless. But by far, the most serious reaction came from the Anti-Defamation League and from Jonathan Greenblatt, its CEO. In fact, even before the reinstatement, the ADL account carried a very negative reaction to Elon Musk's ownership and stewardship of Twitter. I have a link in the description to two tweets talking about how content moderation had gone downhill since Musk took Twitter over, saying people and companies, they won't say which, have limits on the hate speech, whatever that is, they want to see on their feeds. Of course, what the ADL won't admit is that if you think an account is spewing nastiness that you don't want to see, you don't have to follow it, and you can even block it. And if, and I repeat if, the account contains libelous statements, you can sue. And if it contains threats, you can call appropriate law enforcement authorities. Hold that thought, because the ADL next said this, which I say is a threat. Quote, "Whatever happens to Twitter, new social platforms need to center trust and safety from the outset or risk being subject to the same fate. In the meantime, Elon Musk has put Twitter on death watch. It didn't have to be this way," close quote. Now, just a minute. "It doesn't have to be this way" is the kind of language you might hear from an eyewitness in a murder trial. Now, I am not a lawyer nor a law enforcement officer, but I would ordinarily advise anyone to be very careful about making statements like that. In fact, I suggest to Elon Musk that he get an opinion from his general counsel. I'll have more to say about the ADL later. Jonathan Greenblatt on his own Twitter account accused Musk of breaking faith with the ADL over content moderation. He first complained about Trump himself, and here is where I would advise Trump to call his lawyers. Quote, "As we've said before, Trump used Twitter to foment intolerance, issue threats, and incite a violent attack against the U.S. government. Moreover, he has shown no indication that he would do anything different if given the opportunity, unquote Jonathan Greenblatt. And then in the next tweet, to which I have a link in the description, he said, quote, when ADL and other hashtag Stop Hate for Profit leaders met with Elon Musk on November 1st, he committed to not replatform anyone, regardless of stature, until he installed a transparent, clear process that took into consideration the views of civil society, unquote. Then another tweet, and I have a link in the description of that too. He said, quote, Elon Musk's decisions over the last month have been erratic and alarming, but this decision is dangerous and a threat to American democracy. We need to ask, is it time for Twitter to go? Close quote. And when the reinstatement became an accomplished fact, Greenblatt hit the ceiling. Quote, for Elon Musk to allow Donald Trump back on Twitter, ostensibly after a brief poll, shows he is not remotely serious about safeguarding the platform from hate, harassment, and misinformation, close quote. To which Musk made this ironic reply, hey, stop defaming me. And to which I say, Mr. President, I suggest you call your lawyers about that one also. Again, I am not a lawyer, but when he accused Elon Musk of being not serious, blah, 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 Mr. Greenblatt also accused Trump of spewing hate, harassing other people, and in general telling packs of lies. And earlier he accused him of inciting a violent attack against the United States government. Now, is that just his opinion to which he is entitled, or is it an assertion of a fact not in evidence to which he is not entitled? Because if it's the latter, he has laid no foundation. Any of you legal eagles out there, leave a comment and tell me about it if you'd like. If I'm missing something, tell me that too. Now, let's talk about the account itself. But first, I want to shout out to a sponsor who can really help you through the economic storms to come. That sponsor is rsilverlines.com. Now, do you feel like you're working harder for your money just to get by? You're not alone. The fluctuating economy, employment issues, and unexpected changes in life have left many families struggling over the past few years. Collecting gold and silver can help shield you against many of these challenges. But if you're like me many years ago, you don't know where or how to start. Our Silver Lines helps by connecting you with thousands of members who are learning the secrets to creating and protecting true wealth by collecting precious metals. Now, whether you just want to collect rare and unique coins or take advantage of the business opportunities that this company provides, they can help you learn to live an exceptional life. Visit rsilverlines.com to learn how you can build a legacy for your future. And now, the Trump account itself. It is now live, and I've left a link in the description. You'll need that link because you can't search for it and it won't come up in a search suggestion. Not on Twitter it won't. I tried, but I remember the address and it's good. Now thus far, Donald Trump himself has made no use of his Twitter account since the reinstatement. Indeed, Reuters reported that Trump had no interest in using the account. He told the Republican Jewish coalition that he would prefer his own social medium, Truth Social. Jack Posobiec on his Telegram channel noticed one thing immediately from looking at the account and the last tweets. He said, quote, really amazing how the account Real Donald Trump gets unbanned and his last few tweets debunk every lie the Jan 6 committee spread about him, unquote, Jack Posobiec. Let me tell you people something. Even a cursory examination of the account bears this out. Since Trump hasn't used the account since the ban, the two most recent tweets go back to January 8th, 2021. I have links to both in the description. In them, he paid tribute to the estimated 75 million people who voted for him and said he would not attend the inauguration of his putative successor. Much more relevant is what he said before, during, and after the January 6th event. He begins by inviting people to attend. I have a link in the description. It has a map and says the doors open at 7 a.m., doors to an enclosure on the Ellipse, that is. He would speak at 11 a.m. Well, it's an established fact that he was 20 minutes late in speaking, and he spoke to an overflow crowd that spilled out onto the National Mall, right up to and beyond the Washington Monument. Now, let's look at what he said later. I have links in the description to 10 tweets altogether that came after the invitation, in addition to the 2 most recent. He talks about the Georgia runoff that was going on then, about election irregularities in that runoff, about how even in Mexico you need an ID to vote, and about how states want an opportunity to correct their votes, as he put it, for president, and all that Mike Pence had to do was send the matter back to the states. Well, as we all know, Mike Pence didn't do that. Now, the other tweets contain video of the speech that Trump made. Now, you can play it all the way through, and I defy you to find in it any exhortation to force or violence or disrespect. In his next 2 tweets, he explicitly calls for respect for the Capitol Police and for peace. No violence, he said. And last, he shared another speech expressing regret for any violence that actually took place. So what can we learn from studying that account, especially if Trump himself leaves it alone and it can stand as a museum exhibit? Well, before I begin, I want to express a word of extreme caution to anyone who might have heard about something called a Trump check or Trump red checks, diamond checks, any other kind of check. Somebody actually said on Telegram, and I won't tell you who it is, that Trump used that Twitter account to promote this whatever it was. Wrong. You get that? Absolutely, totally, categorically wrong. Donald Trump has not accessed the Twitter account in any way. Remember, he said he wouldn't. And he might reconsider once he realizes that he has more than 86 million followers. But I have never seen him directly promote any kind of private script or currency. Now, about those tweets that you can see on the account. As Jack Posobiec said, these are not exhortations to force or violence. To address Mr. Posobiec's point, they do not support in any way the allegations of the January 6th committee, nor do they support the testimony of any of its witnesses. Recall, that committee was not an adversarial forum. It was one having the purpose of writing bills of attainder and an ex post facto law. And in line with this, Twitter kept the former president off its platform and allowed others to lie about him. You will remember my telling you that Twitter, like Facebook, let itself become a state actor. To further this goal, they imputed words to Trump that he neither spoke nor posted. Now, as we have his last words, so we can disprove all the attempts to tarnish his honor and to alter our memories. This event is no less momentous than would be the sudden restoration of 52 names to the Assyrian eponym canon after King Tiglath-Pileser III ordered them chiseled out, because it now allows us to set the record straight. And now, concerning the Anti-Defamation League, Elon Musk has already rather archly observed that an organization purporting to oppose defamation just engaged in it. Indeed, they just created a worse problem for themselves. By what authority dare they order any common carrier of telecommunication services to deny service to anyone? They might as well order the telephone company to disconnect someone's telephone. Furthermore, they can have only one reason to order Twitter to suspend the Trump account and hide its contents, and that is to continue the libel of him. When they do that, they violate the 9th commandment, which reads, and I quote, "Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor." Exodus chapter 20, verse 16. Look it up. I expect an organization purporting to speak for God's chosen people to keep God's commandments. They only demean themselves by demanding the scrubbing of an historical archive in order to facilitate a systematic libel. Now, whether Trump will return to use his account is his decision, no one else's. But if Twitter wishes to save itself in the long run, it must behave like a trustworthy archive as well as a common carrier. Reinstating the Trump account is a good first step, although Twitter will not let the account show up in its own search engine. Whatever else it is an historical record of the beginning of a shameful chapter in American history. And earlier President James Madison must be spinning in his grave. Whatever happened to Congress will make no law abridging the freedom of speech. Link in the description of the article to the 6 tweets of the Trump reinstatement poll sequence, to 2 positive reactions, to 2 negative reactions, to the Anti-Defamation League statement, to Jonathan Greenblatt's statements, and Elon's talk right back at him, to the Trump Twitter account, to a total of 13 tweets from Trump that are among his last, to my Declarations of Truth Twitter account, and to Conservative News and Views. I've also left links to the awesome CNAV Store and to oursilverlines.com, as I also mentioned. You know already about how to like a video, turn on notifications, and leave a tip. On the end screen, I'm going to leave a subscribe link to my channel and links to my video about Twitter being a state actor, to my Twitter war playlist, and to the Trump Mar-a-Lago raid playlist. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another declaration of truth and reminding to let the truth set you free.